Hey, we're back, and Beate Chelette is back as well. Her website is BeateChelette.com. That's Beate Chelette, who is the growth architect and founder of the Women's Code. Beate creates strategies, designs, process maps, and blueprints for visionaries and leaders who want to maximize their profits and scale their impact. But we always have struggles, difficulties, and in life, in our business, and that's why we need someone like Beate to help us architect this growth and to tell us, like, hey, here's where you're at. Get it in words, get it in writing, get it spoken out. Deal with that uncovery session. Align your spirituality with your strategic success. So Beate will get raw and personal with us. Tell us what's up, tell us how we might be failing, how we might be succeeding, and what we can do moving forward. So Beate, glad to see you again.
I'm excited to be here. Wow, you like put it right out there. So let's jump right in. So one of the things, aside of course from being excited to be back on your show, is that I've noticed that especially an environment like the one we are in right now appears to be very reactive, where we want to react to what's going on the external. We have an opinion. We don't really know exactly what's going on. All we know is that it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. The language is terrible. People are doing all kinds of really stupid stuff. And so my first advice would be is don't take the bait. It is designed for you to take your eyes off the ball. It is designed to put you in a victim mode. It is designed to make you complain and join the chorus. So just stop all of it. This is a time where I feel that the pendulum swing, how I explain that, Robert, it goes so wild from one side to the other that it's almost making no sense at all. Like what I'm hearing, it's so nonsensical that I'm like looking at this, I'm like, it's a bunch of kids, you know, playing on the schoolyard, bullying other kids. It's like, no, I'm not even going to get involved in that. I'm going to focus on what I have control over. So I want to encourage your listeners to really think about, if this is where we are at, what's a logical conclusion on what's going to happen next? What are people going to want after this? What are your clients going to want after this? Safety, predictability, calmness, a collaboration, a partnership, somebody they can talk to without the highs and lows because they're already so exhausted. So how do you need to position you and your business and your messaging right now so that when people see you or hear from you, they go, oh, thank God.
Thank God, a reasonable person, someone who thinks things through. And when there's all this, as you said, the childish, the pettiness, the reactiveness happening, it's so tempting, isn't it, to say, hey, well, other people aren't playing by the rules. Other people are cheating. Why do I have to have this moral code and be this bigger person? And it seems like you would say, because it's not about you, and because if you're just as bad, then how are you any different? So you have to be a good role model, and you have to be someone who's strategic, who's calm, who does the right thing.
I'm actually going to take this a step further with an experience share of what just happened. So we just lost everything in the Palisades fire. And not just did my house burn down, my office burned as well. And we lost all of our cars. We weren't even here. We were on our honeymoon in Costa Rica. And I find that over the decades I've been doing this, I've always really cherished my relationships. There's very few places in the world that I go where I don't know someone. That's because I worked with a lot of creatives. I worked at magazines. I worked in photography and photo production. And a lot of my clients have always been international, or, the people that I hang out with just moved on to other places. And when this disaster happened, I was suddenly on the receiving end of things. And I didn't expect that. I did not know what to do with it. I did not know what that felt like, and I was completely overwhelmed. So I want you to imagine that you arrive, from the biggest high you're at. You just got married. 4 days later, you lose everything you have. We arrive at the airport at midnight. We don't have a place to stay. We have one pair of shoes, the ones we are wearing. I mean, we were in the jungle. I didn't even bring a purse or a wallet. I had, a couple of white flowy ceremonial clothes because we were on a spiritual retreat. I mean, hardly stuff that you really need when you are in the real world in Los Angeles. And our kids picked us up. They had a plan for us. They're like, you need to find an apartment immediately so you have a place to live. We had friends that already had stepped into action. This was all unbeknownst to us. And that would drive at 8 o'clock at night. A mother of two drives after she puts the kids to bed for an hour to drop off a box of clothes and a copy of my own book with a note. It's a really good book. It contains great advice. It's probably the only copy you have. You need it more than I do. And
Nice.
you sit there, Robert, and you go, I don't even know what's happening. And people are like, no, you can crash at my place. I'm in Paris. Stay as long as you like. I'll be back at the end of the month. Here's money for you guys for the food delivery service. Just go and pick your menu and have it delivered to you. Here is, we set you up a GoFundMe page. Here is, we stood in line for you at all these places that are doing all these giveaways. Here's Patagonia. Here's Warby Parker. Here's this place. That's where you get this. And we were handed from one to the other. And what I realized is you have to stay in integrity. And in marketing, in life, in your relationships, you have to be in integrity. This is not a game. The integrity is, how do I want to show up in the world? What is the right thing for me that I can truly believe in, or that I can justify the right thing to do, even though if it's really hard and it feels wrong in the moment? But how do I want to actually show up in the world? And all this giving and this mentoring and this free work, all the stuff that I've done for so long, compounded in these last 2 months. I have received more love, support than I could have ever imagined. A couple days ago, somebody said to me, I'm going to send you a care package. My wife curated it. And when I sold my company, I got 2 of these, and I think you should have one. I had no idea what he meant. I lost my Mont Blanc pen. I love my Mont Blanc pen, but I lost it in the fire. I lost everything in the fire. But I mourn for my pen because it was meaningful. And that's one I wrote in my journal with my birthday, holiday cards, my thank you notes. This was the pen that I used. In that box is a Mont Blanc pen, the exact one I had. The exact pen I had. You tell me. So doing the right thing and living in integrity, this is why I think this is so important that we talk about this on your show right now. It doesn't matter what you do, just be in your own personal integrity, and it'll come. You just have no idea when.
Very amazing. Well, it's got to be a good feeling when all these things that all this kind of trust, relationships, goodwill you built up over the years comes back to you, and it's not just like throwing money at you. It's like all this thoughtful things, right? The care package with the pen and people waiting in line for this, and you can stay here. It's like actual like people being extra super nice to you, and to help us understand like what the kind of change that you've done to earn this in a way. What are you all about? If someone doesn't know about you, they don't know about your business, the transformation you do, help us get an idea. When someone comes to you for help, what's the solution you provide?
Yeah, so I'm really a business strategist, a consultant, which is, why I operate under the tag growth architect, because I literally architect growth. But what I've learned is that over the years that a lot of people are either they are sort of more spiritually inclined and then they're terrible at business and strategy, or they're very good at strategy and processes, but then when it comes to purpose or vision or really stepping into that part, personal alignment, they're not very good. And then they burn out, they blow up their lives, they blow up their relationships, they blow up their business, they blow up their health because there's not alignment. And the further I went, the more I realized We have to align spirituality with strategy. And if you have a problem with either one of those words, find a different word. If you don't like spirituality, use flow state or use purpose or vision. And if you don't like strategy, replace it with a plan or an execution plan, whatever are words that don't cause any friction in the way you think about it. But the most successful people are people that truly believe in what they do, truly believe in their core that what they do is designed for them, that they're helping other people, that they're here to serve. And then we can build an execution strategy for that particular purpose. You don't have to hate your job to make money in it, and you don't have to love your job and be broke, doing it. It is possible to do both. And that's my specialty, is to help people to understand what their differentiation factors. I'm going to give you an example to make that clear. So today I spoke to somebody who may or may not work with me. And he said he is an executive leadership coach. He's a white man executive leadership coach. And I said to him, "Forgive me." And I rolled my eye. I said, "If you are starting a business now and you put your shingle out, and as a white man, you say you are an executive leadership coach, I will tell you 2/3 of the people you talk to will roll their eyes, because the world is littered with white male executive coaches. No offense." And then he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm really not liking that so much, but I don't know if I like a better words. What I really do is, I help leaders that already are intentionally doing culture." I said, "Oh, you're an intentionalist.
Ooh.
You felt that, right?"
Yeah.
And I said, "So you're an intentionalist." I said, "You see what a different resonance that already has when I say I am a consultant or a coach that's specialized on intentionally building cultures with leaders that want to be intentional, and you are an intentionalist." I said, "Now that hits a mark. Now you are different than anybody else." It took me what, like 10 seconds to do that. So that's my strength, is I can listen to people, what they say, I see how they show up, and then in my head, and this is my intuitive, the spiritual aspect of my work, where I literally hear the voice. I'm like, "Nah, that's not it. It's something different." And I can pinpoint that with so much precision in such a short amount of time. That's just my skill. That's my super skill, my gift. I didn't, I certainly honed it, but this is something that's been given to me that I'm sharing with the world. If somebody wants to have this kind of framework that is unique to them without sounding like anybody else, that's when they come to me.
So it sounds like differentiation is the problem, that too many of us are just like everyone else. There's no interesting story. There's no one coming along saying, "Oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? This is what I need." And why don't people think this through? Why are people too afraid to be too specific? Are they worried about taking a risk? Is the reconfiguring uncomfortable? Why is this not happening enough?
I think it's all of the above, but mostly because you just don't know how you show up in the world. So the external perception of you supersedes your own perception of yourself. That's just a fact. How other people see you is how you show up in the world. That's your image out there in the world. So when people say I'm totally different at home than I'm at work, you got a problem.
Yeah.
You got a schizophrenia, a duality problem. Because if you are two different people, you are not authentic, you're not real, you're not in integrity, because then you're wearing a mask here and a mask there. What transpired for me in this experience is that the external perception of how I worked hard to show up in the world as myself is now reflected to me in the same way that I had intended it. So that tells you that the perception of me now is aligned with the perception I have of myself. But that's hard work. And I
Oh,
have
yeah.
coaches and I work with people, and I ask all the time, when you hear that, what do you see? How would you explain what I just did? How does that resonate with you? What of this feels true? Where do you feel my strength is? You have to have people like you, like me, that help you to hone these messages, because you cannot see what's so significantly different about yourself, because that's just the way you do things.
Right. You're too close to it and you don't have that perspective of someone seeing you. It's like if you're afraid of hearing your own voice on the tape recorder, if you're afraid of seeing how you look on video, what you imagine is not how it actually looks. So you have to adjust. And so when someone comes to you and you say, "Hey, I see how perhaps the rebranding needs to happen, or you need to be better aligned," and someone says, "Okay, you're right, Beate. I need to make some changes in the way I think, the way I act, in my overall big picture." So what kind of work has to happen, and how long of a process is this just to go from point A to point B?
It depends on where they are. So there's really three different stages. I make things very simple. If you have sort of a plan-ish model, but maybe not, if it's kind of a little bit fuzzy, you need to start in the building phase, like the business model. What are we doing? What makes you different? Who are you serving? What are you doing it for? Who are you doing it for? What's your product? What are you selling, and how do you help people to transform? That's the first step. That's in a program that we do. It's called Turn Your Talent into Business. It takes 8 weeks. I can take anybody in 8 weeks and put them through a program and have them walk out with a business model and a plan. And the second part is building a signature system, which is when we talk about scaling the business, right? Where we then go and look, what are my systems? What are the different transformation journeys I'm offering? What are my different products? What is aligned? What do I do on a larger scale? So now we're building the systems and the processes. And then the third part, that's when we really, really, really grow the business. When we go and say, here is how we are now going to look for additional clients. This is where we go and find partnerships, collaborations, vertical expansions. This is where we go. You need to speak in conferences. You need to start your podcast. You need to be on podcasts as a guest, where we really then take this message out. But it's really a 3-step process. You have to first figure out what it is. Then you have to figure out how to grow it and how to find your client. And then you finally figure out on how to really blow it up and make it the business and the size that you want it to be.
And it seems like you ask these hard questions. If someone's kind of thinking small or just limited in a box, and they're not thinking on the scale that perhaps you are, or that where, like you say, you need to grow the business, hire employees, appear on podcasts, do all these amazing things that will put you out of your comfort zone, that will require a lot of personal growth on your part, that will require a lot of hard work, but it's got to happen. And so as far as getting people excited about this journey that they will go on with you, I want to make sure that we talk about just what you think is important and maybe what's not spoken about enough. So in this conversation you and I are having, what's the missing question that I should be asking you? I just don't know to ask you.
I think it is, the question really is around like what's sort of the balance between the strategy and the spirituality? Like how much of this, are we leaning one way or another? And I would say that in order to be successful in life, right? Because I've learned again, I've just had a catastrophic event. Everything I own is gone. So I borrowed everything I've built up until this moment, and now it's gone. It apparently wasn't mine, because if it was mine, I would have it. So I borrowed it for a duration of time, and then poof, now it's gone. When we die, everything that we build, the cars, the house, all of this also stops. So everything you have, you borrow. So the question isn't how quickly I can get you to there. The question is, what do I need to do to enjoy here, to make today and tomorrow an enjoyable day? Most people make the mistake, and this answers your question, that they follow the idea of the matrix, that there is some point in the future when somehow something magically everything will fall in place and then you just live happy. And that's what, at 68 when you get your RV and you drive through America and drink beer at campsites? No, the journey is the reward. So we want to build your business so that you have a good time this week, that you have a good time next week, and that you have a good time after that, so that you have all these here moments while you're on your path to wherever that might be.
That is a place you want to be. We want that present gratitude. And I find myself all the time, definitely less so than I used to. How about that? I used to be a lot more stressed about the future and have regret about the past and beating myself up. And I told myself that unless I was down on myself, that I wouldn't have the push, the drive. And that's totally false, right? We just need a better plan, a better strategy, better coping mechanisms. And we need your help to do it, to enjoy the present and to enjoy the journey and to say, well, hey, I'm making the best of today and I'm still working hard and achieving and I'm helping people, but I'm not waiting for that future date when, as you say, like, oh, a switch will magically flip and then I'll be happy then. Once I get this, then I get this. And too many of us fall into that, right? If I do this, I'll be happy. If I buy that, I'll be happy. And we just keep on like chasing all this and making ourselves miserable. And life is too short for that. And so, how can someone get your help with all these things? How can they get this kind of growth architect advisement, the spiritual alignment? Where do they go for some next steps with you?
Yeah, just go to uncoverysession.com and fill out a time slot, book 15 minutes, and I'll be happy to talk to you. I do this personally. There's no sales process in place. I want to connect with people. And if you want to find out if there is a money making opportunity with your skill, go to our free quiz. It's called whatsyourtalentworth.com. And in 2 minutes, it'll spit out a number and it'll tell you exactly how much your earning potential is with the skill that you have right now. I'm here to help. I'm all over social media, on from Substack to TikTok to Instagram. I'm not really doing much on Facebook these days, but I'm on LinkedIn. Reach out, don't be a stranger. Drop in and say hello, and I'm happy to be of service anywhere I can.
Very nice. And we need to look into this. And taking a quick quiz is a low pressure way of going about it, right? Sometimes you say, well, you need to take this big course. Maybe I'm not ready for that. Have this conversation. Well, we start with just this quick quiz and see where you're at. So we said that's whatsyourtalentworth.com, where you can uncover your true earning potential, discover exactly how much your skills are valued. And I love the little bit of the 3-step outline that you outlined the outline earlier, right? You said, well, you have these skills, you ask these questions, you figure out how it can turn into a marketable business. And because otherwise, if we just expect luck to happen or we expect ourselves to figure it out along the way, it sounds to me like a lot of wandering and a lot of wasted time. And we need someone like you to say, no nonsense. Hey, I don't like what you said about being that executive coach. Do this instead. And you have this one plan. Well, here's a more thought through way of doing it. That way you don't have to be that person at work and that other person at home. And you don't have to be unhappy and you can live the lifestyle you want, help the people that you want. And we said that's uncoverysession.com. If you're at that point where you want to choose a spot in the calendar and talk to Miss Beate Chelette and just figure out how to get to growth and to get to alignment and figure out all these things that some people talk about, but then they say, well, I don't know how to get there. Well, you get there by having some people on your team, on your side, because you can listen to the podcast, read the books, and that gives you some ideas. But as far as someone saying, hey, here's your situation, here's some steps to getting there, that's a lot more valuable and powerful to align and achieve your goals. And as far as ending this very fun conversation I'm having with you, Beate, it's time for the scary part of the show where I try to stump you, I try to put you on the spot, and I ask for a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you in life or in business. Sometimes we deal with like these difficult moments in life, like you and I are going through in our own respects, and you really find out what you're made of. And sometimes people need kind of that reassurance and saying like, hey, it'll all be okay. And so what comes to mind for you as far as just a helpful quote or lesson to get us excited, energized about the present and the future?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that if you're listening to the show, make sure you subscribe to it, give it a 5-star review. with a little comment because it'll really help Robert to get the show out in front of more people and help more people. So that's number one. And number two, my quote is that I say, there are a million ways to be successful. You only need to find one, your own.
Very nice and inspiring. You only need to find one way to be successful, which is your own. And don't overthink it. Don't stress yourself out. Don't get caught in that analysis paralysis. Go to uncoverysession.com and have that 15-minute uncovery session with Miss Beate Chelette and tell her about your situation. Tell her about what you're planning, what you're starting, and she'll help you with some of this guidance from the growth architect herself. And I've had just a swirl of like 25 different thoughts, Miss Beate, and especially I'll have to go back and listen to that part about when you listed the questions. I found that very powerful. But if someone says, okay, I want to join that course, right, the multiple week course, what's the link to that?
That is at growtharchitect.training. And that actually starts a couple times a year. So the next one is going to be in April. I had to push it because of the fires. We were delayed. So I'm currently looking at the dates. So I'm changing the dates as we speak. So it'll be the dates for the next program will always be published on growtharchitect.training.
All right. Well, exciting. And so, as Beate said, leave this show a 5-star review. Find her on social media if you liked her message. And then if you say, okay, I really like that idea of turning my talent into a business, transform it into a thriving business in just 8 weeks, no matter if you're going there in this month or next month, whenever that next class is starting, that is growtharchitect.training. And it's been very wonderful speaking with you today, Beate. I really appreciate you coming on board, taking the time. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert. Always a pleasure.
All right.